Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream.
And good evening, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Current Events on Tap, a podcast brought to you by the Alex Kirdch Project. And I am your host, Alex Kirdch, pragmatic, progressive U.S. Army veteran, truck driver, gamer, and streamer. If this is your first time on the show, please do not forget to hit like, share, and comment, and subscribe. We are currently streaming live from YouTube because for some reason Twitch and X does not want to stream and multi-stream from here. So I'm just streaming from YouTube for the time being. The format of the show is simple. I bring on one or more guests onto the show. We talk beer or beverage of choice, current events of the week, and each person will discuss their beverage of choice for this whole hour, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic, it does not matter. Then each person will cover two current events of their choosing. They give the current event, they give their assessment, then each person gets a chance to give their assessment, and then we discuss it. We debate may be possible, but rest assured you're in a good faith zone, and you will get your chance to get your point across. The point of this space is for all people for us to discuss the issues and what we think of it and to keep an open mind on what the other person has to say. But please remember to keep it within TOS. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome our guest, Smeth. How you doing, Smeth? Muted.
Let's fucking go, baby. Let's welcome to the fucking Smeth den. I come to your place, the Smeth den comes with me. Now you're fucking in it. I got water here, baby. But you know what else? I got water, but a White Claw that has been here since New Year's Eve. White Claw, nice. Watermelon, doesn't taste like I don't know if I'm gonna drink. Maybe I'll take a couple sips.
Do what you gotta do, man.
It's the best alcohol because it keeps you more hydrated and there's not a lot of calories.
There you go. Well, since you want to talk about your beverage, my beverage of choice is this from Atwater Brewery based out of Detroit, Michigan. It's called City Juice Hazy IPA. It's actually pretty good. It's because most times with most IPAs they're a little bit too bitter for me, but this actually isn't bad. It's got 6.3% alcohol and a 12-ounce can. Not bad. It's got a nice little punch to it. I drink a lot of like microbreweries and things like that. I'll drink a mainstream beer, but I don't really drink beer like Budweiser, Coors Light, any of that shit. I consider that piss beer. So I drink other different kinds of beers.
Oh, those are the ones I like.
Well, I mean, you know, well, it's shooter's preference. Like I don't tell people they shouldn't drink it. It's just not for me. Like I used to drink Coors Light back in the day all the time, but I like to like broaden my horizons. So after I lived in Germany, I became kind of a beer snob too. So like I base, like, and I tell this to everybody, every time I drink a beer, I base it upon like if I can drink it at room temperature or cold. And I think an IPA, you can only drink that cold. It's not going to be very good at room temperature. That's just my personal opinion.
I cannot stand IPA. It's like you took beer. I'm a anti-beer snob. I'm a snob about not liking beer. But I mean,
gotcha.
I don't really care. But I think IPA tastes like if you took beer and you soaked it in broccoli.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's kind of what
the
it
hop.
is. Yeah.
No, it's the hops. It's got that really, really bitter taste to it, essentially, and that's what kind of it throws people off, which I completely understand. I mean that's gonna happen. It's not a taste for everybody, but like Juice Force IPAs are really good. It's the same people that do the Fat Tire ales. The same people that do that, they got the Juice Force. It's not that bad. It's like 9% alcohol, but I tell you what though, it tastes like it's like drinking juice. It's really good. But be careful, tread carefully with that one. That one, if you're not careful, that shit will fuck you up real quick, fast, in a hurry. So before we kind of go into tournaments, I'm just curious, where'd the name Smeth come from?
I just like to, at the time I was changing my Discord name to like random shit and it just sounds funny. So
yeah.
It made one of my friends crack up. And then when I started streaming, that was my Discord name and people knew me as Smeth. So I was like, all right, Smeth. And then on like there's like some other random shit called Smeth, like random people have used Smeth before because it's kind of simple. So on a lot of things I just started using RealSmeth.
Okay. There you go.
Because of Trump. Like the real Donald Trump. If the president of the United States can just put the real in front of his name and then it sounds official, then I can do it and then it's an easy cheat code. So I was like, whatever.
There you go. I mean, hey, can't fault you that. You know, I tried about going like different monikers, but it's just like, just gonna use my name. People are gonna figure it out anyway. Fuck it. Why not? So I just go with my name. I don't just discourage anybody from like, if they don't want to use their name, but I just was curious, so. But anyway,
I have a lot of respect for that. I'm kind of jealous, but also it's scary.
No, I get it, because the internet out there is really scary, because like people will find out your name, they find out where you live, they'll fucking try and dox you. I consider doxing and swatting like I have a huge problem with that. I have no respect for people who do that. I don't give a shit if you disagree with that person. I don't like swatting, and I don't like doxing. I think it's horrendous, because that's how people die. I don't like it.
How do you feel about doxing? So like the conversation about doxing gets so obnoxious, in my opinion, because then people are like, but I found it. It's online. Like they'll find something and they're like, oh, but it's public. That like I don't know, you in a Twitch chat that was like somehow archived or something, like 3 years ago on the same account that you have now, but you weren't streaming because it was 3 years before you ever streaming. You said one thing that allowed them to figure out that you would have an account here by this name, and then that's like, oh, but that's all public, and then they figure out like who you are, and like, oh, but it's all this is public, so it's really, I'm not done anything. How do you feel about that?
Well, here's the way I look at it. Like, I don't look at it as like using my name as a dox. I'm talking about like where they publicly disclose like where I work at, or where they disclose where I live. That's where I draw the line, because then people are like open to harass you. Now, you could possibly find out where I live on the internet or something like that. It's probably easy to figure that out, but that doesn't mean like it gives people a right to do like harass me and stuff like that, because I live out in the country. I've got no trespassing signs, so if you try to come and visit me, there's going to be a problem. Let's put it that way. So.
Hell yeah.
But I'm not everybody. Not everybody has the same. I'm not worried if people want to come to my property and harass me. It's just it's not going to go. Well, no,
I wouldn't want to fuck with you.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. There's like a trend on TikTok of people, and it's really impressive, but different people are doing this. It's a trend where you take like a photo that somebody has taken, and like no way you could figure out where this is. Like just a photo of someone posing next to a tree, and they'll be like, I did a reverse image search of this face, and I went through here, and then it's like, and they have like this music playing, like what is that video, Ace Attorney, they're like, it'll like it's like, oh, then I did this, and then I did this, and they're like, and it turns out that the only way that this place this could be is this public park, and then I looked at all the pictures in this public park, and it must be this tree. And how do you feel about that? I think that's creepy, but it's impressive, but it's like, I hate that this is the world we're living in. It's creepy.
That goes to show that some people have entirely too much time on their hands, and they're just willing to do anything. Honestly, I find that absurd. I don't have time to do stuff like that, so I'm not going to worry about it. I know people have done it to me, and they say because like before we get on other topics, like I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft, and I pissed off a lot of people because I wasn't very good at it, and they managed to track down my IP address and find out where I lived, and they're like, "Oh, we know you live in Oklahoma." I was like, "Okay." It's like, "We're gonna find you." I'm like, okay, come on ahead. I mean, I called your bluff. You come right on ahead and find me. That's fine. It's just, I'm not really intimidated by stuff like that, but it's just like, I would have a problem if like people send like the police after me, because like I didn't do anything. Why would you send the police? But that's just how people get harassed. That's how people like Tim Pool happens to him all the time. I don't like Tim Pool. I disagree with his politics all the time, but he doesn't deserve to get swatted, just what things are. So, how about we go into current events? How about it?
Sure. You're Alex Kirsten.
Yes. Kirdch. Kirdch. Kirsch. Yes.
Kirdch. Okay. Not Ashton, like Ashton.
No,
you're Alex Kirdch. Alex
Yeah.
Kirdch. I put the title of my stream, Talkin to a Trucker, because your first topic is related to trucking. And you're a trucker. You're also a veteran too.
Yes. That's right.
All right. I'm Smeth. I have a degree in fine arts.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. Hey. All right. So, first topic. Former President Donald Trump has been ordered by Judge Engoron in New York City to pay the city of New York $454 million in penalties after it was determined that Trump and his company inflated their assets to boost the net worth and get perks, essentially. This comes as a huge blow because now the Trump organization cannot do business in New York City for 3 years, and the Trump sons, John Jr. and Eric Trump, cannot do business in New York City for 2 years. But that's not the topic, however. Truckers across the country have rallied together to boycott making any deliveries in the city of New York out of support for Donald Trump. Now, I made a tweet about this saying this is the dumbest idea ever. And I was like, listen, if you don't want to make deliveries in a place because you disagree with the politics, you shouldn't be into trucking. That's my personal opinion because, you know, I'll get into that in a second. But like, I made that tweet and now everyone's like, calling me a piece of shit, but that's okay. I'm used to that. But let's just go over some numbers real quick. This is as of, 2023. Today, of the 365 million tons of cargo that enter, leave, or pass through New York City each year, 89% is carried by truck. In 2045, the same proportion will be delivered by truck. However, tonnage is expected to grow by 68% to 540 million tons. I think that's according to Forbes magazine. Now, here's the thing. Truck drivers are the heartbeat of America. If trucks stop delivering nationwide for 3 days, that's right, 3 days, the country is essentially going to get thrown into a tailspin because, food's not going to get delivered. Gas isn't going to get delivered. Food's going to be left to rot out in the fields. You're not going to be able to get groceries and whatnot. Clothes are going to go out of stock and whatnot. Everything's going to come to a grinding halt, essentially, after 3 days. That's how important it is for truck drivers. Now, people can say, oh, well, we've got small-time delivery drivers. Well, they still got to get it from another warehouse, and the warehouse gets it delivered from truck drivers, essentially. And people's like, well, what about trains? Having somebody that's worked in intermodal, you still got to have truck drivers pick up from the rail yard to deliver to the locations like a Walmart distribution center, whatnot. Now, it takes a certain person to do this job. It is not easy. I can tell you from experience. It is hard. I did OTR. I was gone a month and a half at a time. I barely saw my wife, and it was bad. It was horrible. I mean, it was good because it gave me that experience. Then I switched to another job, and where I was gone like a week. I would be gone throughout the week and be home for the weekend. Now I work in a job where I'm home every single day.
Do you have your own rig?
No. I work for a company still. But the thing is that like I couldn't afford it anyway because it's so expensive because the gas, the price of diesel and whatnot, and the maintenance and the tires, it's really expensive. But the thing is though, is that like when it comes down to it, there's been places that I've delivered to. Now, everybody that knows me that I can't stand Trump. Everybody knows that I'm a left-leaning person. I'm a progressive and whatnot. I've delivered to places that have a staunch religious cult-like following to Trump, right? And I keep my opinions to myself. Why? Because I'm working right now. This is my business. This is my job. This is how I support my family and I. I'm not going to let my politics get in the way of my paycheck. Now, somebody said, oh, you have no real morals or values. You're not willing to stand on your own ground. It's like, listen, I can have my opinions, but I'm not going to represent my company in this way by expressing my opinion. There's a time and a place to do that, and some people don't really understand that. Now, a lot of these guys I know are independent contractors, which they have every right not to deliver to New York City. But again, I just wonder if you got into truck driving because you enjoy the time on the road and you want to make a difference for the country, why would you do this? Why would you go into trucking and say, well, I'm not going to deliver to this place because they're mean to Donald Trump? I find that completely absurd. And, to just kind of sum up before I turn it over to you. And when I gave the numbers, right, the 89% is carried in by truck. If other companies started following suit, which they won't, because if anybody tries to break up business in New York City, the competition is going to swallow that up. And then New York City is not going to let them come back in and whatnot. It's going to throw everything off balance because then companies, what they have to do is like, well, this company is not going to pick up from us anymore. We got to find another company to pick up and deliver to. We got to find somebody else to outsource. This company now is going to charge a little bit more, which means the goods that they're going to pick up from us are going to raise the price essentially. There is a cascading effect that comes into this essentially. And it every small action has an equal or greater reaction when it comes down to it. And these guys, when they realize it now, there are times like where a protest might seem legitimate. For example, if a truck driving company is not getting paid good wages, yeah, I support that completely. But it's gonna happen, and that's gonna get resolved relatively quickly. But these guys are doing it for just a bizarre reason. Kind of like in 2020, in 2021, truck drivers refused to get vaccinated and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm a firm. Yeah, I had a problem with that too because whether they realize it or not, when you go from one side of the country to the next, the side of the country might be fully vaccinated and you're not, but then you're going to go to another part of the country where they're not vaccinated, and then you might be a carrier in more ways than one kind of deal. It all just kind of plays in together. The effect that you have on the rest of the country plays greatly into this. So that's my assessment on it. And go ahead, Smith. What do you think?
Yeah, it's complicated because I think to completely go against truck drivers protesting like this is very anti-union. And so then you have to make a more nuanced argument about why are they protesting. And if it has something to do with their job and how they're treated, it makes more sense. In this case, it's they want a political candidate. It really is. Any way that you could connect it to their job of being a truck driver is extremely abstract, and it's really not reasonable, in my opinion. I'm sure they could make that argument, but neither of us is making it because it's really hard to do. But in the case of the vaccines, though, I actually am a lot more empathic, even though I understand what you're saying and I agree. It makes more sense because it's like literally what you're telling them to do. So it makes more sense that they could protest in that case. In this case, it makes way less sense. It's just they want their way. Like they can't use their collective action to completely take control of the country. You know, yeah.
No, and I get that. Yeah, the reason why I have a problem with the whole vaccine bit, right? It's like I know there's people out there that have an issue with it, which I get, but there are people out there that they just take the vaccine because of what somebody that they know who's a friend who did some research on the internet says this is not a good vaccine, which I think is crap. But I was able to. I got vaccinated. I'm okay. But it's just and I know that and I understand there are some people that have medical concerns which might prevent them from doing so, and that's between them and their doctor essentially. But it's just people were literally driving across the country for no reason. They're burning up fuel for no fucking reason whatsoever. Then you had a rally of truck drivers that drove down to the southern border to support Border Patrol. I don't understand that either, honestly. You're not really making a huge difference here. And in Canada, they had
They blocked off.
Yep.
They blocked off. What was it?
Also, they blocked off in near Parliament, I think it was, or near where
city.
I can't remember the city. I want to say it was Toronto.
Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah. But they blocked off that entire area. Now, when I had a problem with that, people were like, "Well, how dare you be so upset about this?" It's well, you remember when Chaz?
I support it.
Yep. When Chaz set up their zone, they basically made it to where emergency vehicles couldn't do their jobs in certain areas. That's where I really had a problem with it.
I have a problem with that. Yeah. Actually, I do have a problem with blocking off the roads. In general, I don't think that's okay. I think that's not a valid form of protest. Because emergency vehicles and shit like that, you're literally putting people in danger. But
yourself in danger,
I do think that they should, even though I disagree, I do think they should be able to protest with the vaccines. But at that point in time, and I think it's probably still the case. But definitely then, if you were to become a new truck driver, there was incredibly fucking massive sign-on bonuses. Am I allowed to swear on your show? Do you care about that?
Oh, I've been dropping F-bombs here and there, so.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sign-on bonuses. I don't know if it's still the case, but when the last time I checked, you get $15,000 sign-on bonus. That sounds horrible because I'm expecting that comes with a fucking long contract or something, I'm expecting, no way they're just going to give me $15,000 and just call it a day, but
it depends. It depends on which company you work for, because you have to be there for a certain amount of time, and you can't get in any accidents. You can't because there was a company I drove for, and it was a $10,000 bonus that I got. It actually helped pay for my studio. Actually,
it was Ottawa.
Ottawa. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember what city it was either. But it really depends on the company you drive for, because the first company I drove for, very conservative. They even on the trailers, it says it's not a choice, it's a child. I'm very pro-choice, right? But mama didn't raise no fool. I was getting paid good money to work for this company. It doesn't mean my opinions changed. It's because this was a company that took good care of me. It brought me into the trucking industry, and I'm going to be forever grateful. I don't have to agree with their politics to work for them, essentially, because they took good care of me, honestly. I'm not going to lie. It was a great company to work for. I just wasn't home enough. That was my issue. I always look at it like this. When it comes down to a company, I feel like if you're going to take care of your people, you know, your politics and their politics shouldn't matter. Everyone's going to get along, essentially. I just feel like and you know, when it comes down to work environment, stuff like that, I'm a firm believer, if you take good care of your employees will take good care of you. I'm a firm believer in that. And if you don't take care of your employees, why the fuck should anybody work for you? There's a lot of trucking companies out there that pay their people dick. They don't pay them shit. But it's just because people can't get a job anywhere else because they have a record or something like that. So they know they can get a job. Like Swift is a good example. I'm not going to disparage Swift, but there's a reason why Swift has one of the largest fleets in the country. It's because they have a lot of drivers that have like don't exactly have the cleanest records to drive on, but it's just they need the drivers, and you know that's why it all plays into it. Now, an like somebody's an independent contractor or as owner operator, it's really pricey. Now, if these guys are doing this knowing that they could be setting themselves up for failure, that is entirely their fault. And people are acting like, there's people that are calling me a communist. I'm like, why? I'm not telling them that they should be fired. I'm simply saying, why would you get into trucking if you're going to say, I'm not going to deliver New York City? It's not about you. It's not I didn't like delivering in Los Angeles, but I still fucking did it. I didn't like driving into Chicago.
It's honestly very anti-American. Okay, you live in the fucking United States of America. Okay.
Yeah.
If you what you're advocating, you can't tolerate other people have different opinions than you. What the fucking country do you think you live in? This is America. That's the point of America. That's the beautiful thing. And if we didn't have that, then you wouldn't be allowed to believe what you believe. Okay, so that's your saving grace. That should be something you love, no matter what. It keeps going back and forth. Sometimes we have a conservative president, or sometimes we have a Democrat, whatever the fuck. Yeah. But you want that to be the case because it means that you're safe. You can be different. You can have opinions. You can be a free thinker. If you think that, I'm sure you consider yourself a free thinker. Well, if you consider yourself a free thinker, then stop trying to stifle thought. Can I ask you some questions about trucking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So the statistics, just like kind of like you're saying, the statistics aren't good for like truckers and relationships. Like, so how have you been able to manage that? Because truckers tend to be lonely.
It's hard. I'm not gonna lie, but like the reason why my wife and I were able to go is because, for one, you know, my wife was in the Army too, so she understood what the lifestyle was, and even when I was gone from home, she and I trust one another, and she knew that like getting into trucking was not an easy decision because like I did the full 20 years in the Army, and then I didn't know what I was gonna do. I thought I was just going to go to college and get a degree and shit like that. Yeah, that's my cat, by the way. One of my cats. We have 8. But anyway, like, I didn't know what I was going to do. And, like, one of the jobs that they had was, like, either, like, work for the Columbus Water Works down in Georgia or, like, do canine work or something like that. But none of them seemed like they were going to pay very well. So I got into trucking. And I initially was going to try to find a job where it was more local. But the thing is like, not a whole lot of companies are going to look at you if you have no experience over the road, because like you got to kind of build that experience up. And so when I did it, again, it wasn't easy, but because I talked with my wife whenever I was on shift and stuff, it made it a little bit easier. And because I knew that she was taking care of business back here and whatnot, taking care of the house and whatnot, I knew everything was going to be fine. Not everybody like really has it like that. Some people, it's a lot harder for them. There's actually a video of some truckers that were talking about, like, there was a guy that he's been doing it for like 40 years. He tells his kids, don't get into trucking. It's not worth it. And I get that. There was a guy in there that said that his wife has got dementia, and so he's going to get to the point where she's not going to remember who he is, but he has to keep driving because that's his only source of income, essentially. Yeah. And
plus it can take a toll on you when you get older, because my uncle's a trucker. Like, his heart's not doing too good, and being a trucker, a lot of times you have to do like a lot of sporadic heavy lifting, because like if you're like working in a warehouse, you probably do like the same heavy lifting every day and you get like used to it. But like a trucker, you do it like now and then you stop and then you do it like I feel like it's probably like you're you it would be beneficial. You should have like dumbbells, I don't know, like in your truck to help you keep. Yeah,
you can
so it takes your another question I had.
Sure.
Do any truckers like have wives that like come with them?
You can,
that
but it
sounds
depends
like
on the
an
company.
awesome life.
Well, it depends on the company you have. Like, for example, some companies will let you bring your spouse, but only after a certain amount of time, and they have to like sign a waiver indicating that they are in full compliance. But not all companies do that. Not all companies offer stuff like that, because it's like a huge insurance liability kind of deal. Oh. So it really depends on the company. But if you're like an owner operator, you can do whatever the hell you want to.
That sounds great. So, you got like a housewife, and you don't even have to have you could not even pay for a house. You bring your family with you, Yeah.
You could. I mean, and like I said, it's just because like if you're an owner operator, like the only reason why it becomes difficult is because everything adds up. Like gas, like for example, you could have a 100-gallon gas tank, right? And you could probably go for about 400, 500, 600, 700 miles on that, and it's gonna be like $700-800 to fill that up probably. So, and that's just for like one fill up. Like some people will spend about 20 grand on fill ups over a month period kind of deal. And then you also got to worry about maintenance. You got to worry about tires. And like we're not talking about tires, we're talking about like all the tires. Like you got 18 wheels you got to fix, especially if you have a different trailer, because it all adds up. That's why it's like really, really, really hard. You got to be good at math. You got to be good at budgeting in order to do something like that. So that's why I didn't get into it, because I knew that was going to just be another hard act for me to worry about. It's easier for me just working for a company. That's just my personal preference. Whereas they do owner operator and they make a killing, but not everybody does. It really kind of depends on what you do, essentially.
I always thought that the coolest car, like people get cool cars to really stunt on people. The coolest car to get the very good truck, like not like the back, just the front part of a truck, whatever that's called. I know they call it like a lorry. They call it a lorry in England, but what do you call it? Just a truck?
Bobtail. Yeah, the bobtail.
Yeah, like that would be such a badass. Like I'm rich, I'm gonna get a fucking bobtail. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I tell you, when I had that, when I drove for my last company, I liked it because I was home every week. The only reason I didn't like it is because I had to deal with Chicago traffic every fucking day. I hate Chicago. Like it's a nightmare. Let's put it this way. This is why I have a very low tolerance for drivers and stuff like that. So, but anyway, like, you have any other additional thoughts as far as like these guys that are like not wanting to live to New York City? Like, what are your thoughts about them essentially?
I don't know what to do about it, because I don't want to stifle collective action, but it doesn't seem reasonable. I don't know how to navigate that, I want more collective action, and we're not doing enough of it. Truckers are like one of the last bastions of like unions, and I like unions. They can be shitty. This is an example of how a union could be shitty,
Well, there's not a whole lot of unions in the trucking industry, honestly. Like they actually have videos that discourage unions.
I thought that was like aren't they called like the tipsters or something, or
Teamsters?
Teamsters.
Yeah, Teamsters. Yeah, not all truckers are in the Teamsters though. Like a lot of trucking companies actually discourage joining unions.
Well, every company does, right?
Yeah, they usually do. They have videos it's called union busting essentially.
Yeah, anti-salting. They call you a salter if you're trying to start a union and shit.
Yep. I mean, I fully support unions. And people are like, oh, well, unions are corrupt. It's like, well, so are some business owners.
Well, that's the thing, because what these guys are doing is what you could say about like unions are corrupt. They're doing the thing that people are afraid of.
Yep, exactly. But it's just,
it's tough.
It is. And like I talked about last year when I used to do my show by myself, is I actually talked about the whole thing with the BNSF, the railroad companies, like the unions wanted that. Holy shit. Because like I used to go into BNSF yards all the time in Chicago, and I can tell you those guys get worked like a dog. Like those, like when I say like truck drivers are the
BSNF.
It's the train company. It's Burlington, Norfolk Southern, Santa Fe, and it's one of the it's run by Warren Buffett. He's the owner of BNSF essentially. Well, those guys get worked to death. And the thing was that like what killed me about that is like when I say that truck drivers are the heartbeat of America, freight train people that work on the railroads are the blood vessels. Because holy shit, like 30% of freight gets hauled across the rail lines, and these guys will be gone like weeks at a time, spend a couple of days at home, and then they got to get back out for another few weeks. It's a fucking nightmare. So, but anyway, if you're good, let's go ahead and move on to your topic. What do you got for me?
Okay, there has been a massive in the last couple days. I forget the name of it, but I'm looking it up while I'm talking. But there's been a massive boom in AI video. These videos look real. And I think people were in denial. I know people were in denial about the future with AI. Like, oh, it's nothing. But now that we're seeing this, it's like, we're going down a road that we're not stopping, and the world's gonna look really weird and really different. Pretty soon, and it's scary and it's like existentially very horrific. So I'm seeing like a lot of these videos of like animals, and they're all like visually stunning and stuff. I am somebody who loves watching nature. I will hear about a new animal I haven't heard of.
Yeah.
And I watch a like documentary about them. I want to see how they behave in nature because I want to. I'm very interested in learning like animal behavior and like stuff about, because I think it helps us learn about ourselves too.
Sure.
So seeing all these like animals and stuff, I'm like, the demand for videos of animals in nature is going to go way down. And now, like, so this is scary for me in multiple ways. First, it means I won't be able to get to see as much videos of animals in nature. The demand would go down. There'd be less profitable to make those types of documentaries and stuff. You could just use an AI to make it. And so then I'm not going to actually see the real behavior. And also people's perception of reality will be warped. Right now, I'm looking at this video of an octopus and a crab, and I don't think that this is a very strange interaction between this octopus and this crab. But like, how many years before we think that that's basically how an octopus and a crab works? And in that vein, everything, our perception of reality itself, we're all going to be in our own little fantasy world. We're not going to know what reality is. Are you scared? Are you scared of the AI future? How old are you?
40.
40? Okay, you have plenty of years. You're going to see it, you know?
Yeah. The only time I'm worried about like AI or anything like that, this might sound like really science fiction-ish because I'm a science fiction junkie, but like every single story of like where mankind has used artificial intelligence, that artificial intelligence is essentially created like an intelligence to a level to where it becomes self-aware, and not just like Skynet kind of deal. I'm talking about like multiple avenues where like machines essentially become self-aware and wonder why is it they are serving mankind, and they're going to like rise up and basically try to exterminate humanity because we are a threat to them essentially. That's the kind of stuff that I tend to worry about. So are you talking about like AI videos, like just artificial intelligence videos, like where people can't tell reality from fantasy kind of deal? Is that what you're talking about essentially?
Yeah, sure. Check this out. I have it up on my streamer now, but the video I was just looking at, but I'll send it to you here.
Yeah, go ahead and send it to me. I won't be able to check it out just yet. So,
sure.
But yeah, so it's basically like, where, for example, like about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, I covered deep fakes, right? Because I was talking about, I think I would do, it was deep fakes. And I was talking about like how before the Super Bowl, right? Everybody was making deep fakes of Taylor Swift and like whether that's a huge problem, whatnot. And I was like, my position was that the reason why this is a problem is because there are people that have had deep fakes made about them. Like there was a 14-year-old girl where somebody like took her likeness and turned it into an AI deep fake performing a sexual act. And she was harassed at school. I think she committed suicide actually. And that is horrific. That's the kind of stuff I tend to worry about, because there are some people like, and I told the person, I think it was Flosny I had on, if somebody was like deep fake me like fucking a goat, I'm going to laugh because that's just ridiculous. But if it's like something else that's like a little bit more
deep faking you fucking another woman that you know and then sending it to your wife.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a problem then, because like this is something that could have a drastic impact on my life.
And
essentially.
that technology exists.
Yeah. So like, those are the things I tend to worry about, is like how some people like have this creative mind. They can actually put that creative mind to use, but they in other aspects, but they do it for like their own selfish reasons, essentially. And am I worried about that stuff? Personally, no. Do I think other people have a reason to be worried about it? Yes, I do actually.
Yeah, okay, so that's a different. So the Taylor Swift thing I find very interesting. I don't even think that I think they were very creative. I think they're visually stunning. They weren't really that graphic. They weren't like close-ups of genitals and stuff, but some of them were kind of like she was like having sex with Oscar the Grouch, and like some stuff like that. So it's like kind of degrading. But the reason, like, I don't understand. Like she got like mad about that. Like, you're one of the most fucking famous people in the world. There is already so much fake porn of you. There's already so much fake AI porn. The only issue is that this particular set of AI images was so visually stunning that it really caught on, and people are like, oh, this is like really like compelling and visually interesting. I am, as if we can stop it though. So like I think 14-year-old girls and shit, like every 14-year-old boy, like 20 years from now, when this technology, because this has progressed so fast, 20 years from now, every 14-year-old boy is going to deepfake all their classmates, and I'm sure the girls will do it to some extent too. And it's like going to be unstoppable. And I don't think that like trying to like we're gonna make it harder for you to be able to do stuff like that. I think you're just making it more painful and slow. We're gonna have to accept that videos are just not even like this octopus and this crab I'm looking at. These are not real. We can't start perceiving and learning about reality and trusting video anymore. We literally can't. We have to like assume it's all fake, or have some kind of like, if we want to prove a video is real, it has to be some kind of encryption or like fucking blockchain or something to, have a like, and maybe in that sense, then we can be like, you can be like, so I don't know, we're like 100 years from now, you're going to grow up, and no matter what, there's always going to be like nudes of you. And it's just, we're heading into a really weird world where the boundary between your imagination and everyone else is gone.
So do a little pushback as far as like the whole Taylor Swift thing. The reason why I have a problem with it though is because of like the harassment that can kind of come with it, because, her being a celebrity, she's going to get harassed. That's like centered at it. But I just think this like, because you'll have guys that like can't tell reality from fantasy. They'll think it's real, and this is just going to like just feel like I've got to do this now. Like I've seen what she looks like. I feel like it's meant to be kind of deal. It's just, I think it's only going to exacerbate like their desires and stuff like that, because she's already had enough to deal with, and this is just one more thing for her to worry about essentially. Because like I remember in the 2020 documentary that she did, where the reason why she became such a staunch advocate politically is because like there are certain people out there like Marsha Blackburn that voted against a bill that was the Violence Against Women Act, which guaranteed protections against stalking, because, celebrities like her have to deal with shit like this. And it's not just celebrities like her. I mean, you've got Twitch people that have deep fakes done of them that suffer from serious harassment because some guys can't tell reality from fantasy. And I know there's some people you can't really like, there's nothing you can do about people that can't tell reality from fantasy, because like that's just their perception. But it's just like it becomes a problem when they take harassment to a whole nother level. That's like my
Yeah.
only pushback,
Well,
essentially.
that's what I'm saying, that the deepfakes are utterly inevitable, and especially if you're one of the most famous people in the whole world. There already is tons of that stuff of Taylor Swift. Like if you Google Taylor Swift porn, you can spend days and days and days gooning out to different stuff. Like you're gonna have infinite supply of it. So
Sure.
it's just, I think we actually have to be able to have a more like, no, harassment's not okay, just because like, and
Yeah.
we have to like really have a social awake, like, because another thing is the AI, it's gonna take away so many jobs, and we're gonna have so much time to just like do, like we're gonna have a lot of time on our hands. I don't know how we're gonna handle that economically, but we're gonna have to somehow. But we're gonna have to a lot of that time is gonna have to be spent on being more socially savvy and have more nuanced perspective, like a nuanced relationship with society and the people around us. So we're gonna like, it's gonna be like a weird fucking pleasure dome of like constant stimulation in every single sense. Any movie you can imagine is gonna have. You can make it happen right before your eyes. Anyone you want to see nude, it's gonna like, oh, like you're just. I wish I could see that woman with her clothes out. You know what? I have a prop right for this. All right. You put on your X-ray goggles, and everywhere you go, you can see everybody naked all the time. And like you could literally have like Google glasses do that. So and I think that we just have to accept that and not, okay, like, yeah, we already know that we're all horny all the time and stuff. So we already know that. There's dark parts of that though that we're gonna have to like accept, like we're like weird creepy shit. We're all like a little weird and creepy, and we don't share that, but that's all gonna be out there. And we're gonna be exposed to a lot of parts of humanity that we are uncomfortable talking about. And I think that we need to set healthy boundaries and have healthy understanding and navigate these things in a new way that we haven't done ever before in history.
Well, and you know, when it comes down to the internet, there's a lot of stuff that people don't know. Because like I actually did an entire episode when I first got into podcasting about the deep and the dark web. And what people don't realize is like 90% of the internet is the internet we don't see every single day. It's actually, that's where the majority, because like there is entire server farms of where the deep and dark web lies. And I'm not really going to kind of get into like the stuff that you can see on there, because some of it's stuff like I've never actually been there because I don't know if I'd be able to handle it, let alone the fact that there's people on there that actually keep a lookout for newcomers, and that frightens the shit out of me. That's the shit I definitely am scared of, because like I read about some of the tales of like people that have gone there that have seen some of the stuff, and that stuff is frightening.
Red rooms.
Yeah, it's horrific. Stuff like that. I've got a pretty strong stomach, but stuff like that, it made me very, very uneasy. And it's just the fact that, you know, if I was like, let's say for example, if I had access to the Onion router, right? And that's how you get access into there.
Something like that.
Something like that. Well, if I got access onto there is somebody on there that is far more skilled in the arts of the digital world. They're gonna see me as like, what are you doing here? And it's like, and they'll know exactly who I am. And they're going to find out where I live and stuff like that. So that's the stuff that like it worries me to this day. So like the whole AI thing and stuff like that, I can see why that could definitely be a problem. Like, and again,
well, the dark web is just going to be like the dark, when you say the dark web, like in a like narrative kind of way, like you're kind of talking about the darkness of humanity that like we hide, you know, it's like hidden in there. That's just going to be the like, you piss someone off, like they could like make a video of you being decapitated because it makes them happy, and that'll like exist. And so I think there's gonna be like a big wave of like crazy shit, and we're gonna have to figure out how to be human in that, and we're gonna have to learn a lot, and we're gonna have to really rethink, like, you know, like how we engage with other humans in a way more, because the way we handle it now is we do like a lot of regular repression, or, you know, a lot of politeness and stuff, and like that's gonna be off like the table. Like we're gonna have to learn how to deal with the fact that the guy next to you wants to fucking rape you. Like you're gonna know it, and like how do you live with that? We're gonna have to learn so many social skills and like emotional skills, and it's like all the dark shit that comes out in therapy, right, is gonna be just part of society. It's not gonna have to come out in therapy. It's gonna be the world we live in.
So do you think like some people, like for example, let's say somebody comes up with like a virtual reality and stuff like that, and it's in like we're talking like the quality of the reality that we're looking at is like Ready Player One shit. Like you put the thing on and it's like everything you touch, see, and feel, you can feel everything that you touch in that world. I think like this might actually suppress or like help people like live out the fantasies there that they have, and then when they get back in the real world, they're like, okay, I know this is not. Or do you think this is just going to carry over? What do you think?
What going to carry over?
Like for example, okay, complete hypothetical, right? Let's say for example, I take a virtual reality of myself with my favorite celebrity, right? Let's say it's, Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones. Let's say I have an entire virtual reality where I get married to her and shit like that, and then like everything is like it's fantastic. She and I have children in the virtual reality, whatnot.
You download the AI of her into your fucking body pillow, and it hums to you while you go to sleep.
Well, I'm talking about like I've got like this screen from it's like Ready Player One kind of deal.
Okay,
like everything I touch, see, and feel, right? And then let's say for example, my whole perception is like once I get out in the real world, I know she's not my wife. But then like say for example, I see her on the street. And I think it's gonna work. Oh my god! And then I just run right to her and I scare the absolute shit out of her, and she runs away in the opposite direction. But I'm chasing her because I feel like she's gonna be my wife.
I don't think
that's what I mean. Like
this is what I think.
Okay,
this is what I think. You're gonna have this AI girlfriend. Okay, I think that you're gonna not even need to talk to other people. People are already becoming before the AI stuff a massive, unprecedented shift toward social isolation, loneliness. Young people aren't having sex anymore. The amount of people that just choose to be alone, because there's a lot of benefits to being alone. It's a lot of work to be in relationship, like have intimacy and closeness, and it can have some costs, like emotionally, psychologically. You just have your AI. We're going to be loving AI. Like you won't need your emotional needs met, and it's creepy. I don't like thinking about that. I don't want humanity to be doing that, but this is where we're going, and it's gonna be the most convenient, easiest, safest, comfortable way to live. And so when you're gonna have your AI girlfriend in your house, you're gonna have your job as a trucker. A perfect example. You don't even need to talk to anybody or whatever. You go home to your AI. She can talk to you while you're on your truck or whatever. You got your virtual reality. You see her sitting next to you. You don't need to talk to other people at all. It's almost going to be like we're, in the Matrix, where you see everybody in those pods. We're all going to be doing shit, but we're going to be isolated as if we're in those pods, completely disconnected from each other.
Okay. What about like, not really kind of getting away from the AI bit, but what do you think like there was a book I read years and years ago about like a guy that created a perfect wife that was a robot. He also rejected her at the same time. Do you think that's also a possibility where like people create, because like there's people out there that purchase sex dolls,
you
right?
Want one?
No, not really. But like, what do you think? Like people
good,
are gonna, but like, do you think like robots are gonna be the eventual thing where like people are not gonna get like?
That's way further that. Because AI is already going to be limited to the extent that our computing software can get good, but actual robots, that's going to be expensive. To be to a place where manufacturing like a very realistic robot it's going to be way easier just to simulate it.
Sure.
Yeah. Neuralink, maybe they can make you. It'll be way cheaper to develop. It would cost a lot to develop, but if they could figure out how to make you physically feel something by plugging into your brain, once they develop that, producing it would be a lot cheaper than building robots with all these little tiny mechanical parts. You just have something with hardware that is standard and is standard software, and you just mass produce it. I don't think that the actual robots are the likely outcome. I mean, it could, but the manufacturing is going to be a big.
Gotcha. And plus, it's a lot easier because, like, if you just buy like a set of like virtual reality kit, one person can buy it, and then like, for example, if there's like a market for it, you can create the repair work and the designs and whatnot, and then it's like, for example, if you had, let's say, for example, a visor, gloves, or like even a suit or something like that. Here's a good example. You ever seen the show Upload?
No, I've seen Reboot.
You need to watch, and not Reboot.
I know.
Upload.
Yeah.
You need to watch Upload. Upload is basically, you would love that show because this is exactly what you're talking about. What it is like, if you, like, say for example, if I get into a car accident and I am close to death, but my wife decides to upload me into like a world where like they take my head and they just like upload my consciousness into the world. Basically, I'm living in virtual reality where I don't die essentially, and she can visit me wherever she wants to, but she's got to put on like an entire suit essentially, and she's like living in virtual reality. Like, she sees me and all the interactions we have. Like, she wears a full body suit, and if she touches me, she can feel the touch kind of deal. You actually need to watch this show. It's actually pretty fucking awesome. It's a good show. It's on Amazon Prime. But
I should take your word for it. You said you're sci-fi junkie.
Yeah,
I believe you. It sounds.
Yep. I'm a huge sci-fi junkie.
Someone in my chat said, I never think about building. I always hear dudes talk about these topics. Some of us are not horny all the time. I never think about building the perfect partner through simulation. It doesn't appeal to me at all. It's not real. I agree. I think it doesn't appeal to me all either. It appealed to me all either because it's creepy. Your kids though won't think it's creepy. They're gonna grow in it. It's like when the internet first came about, everybody was like, oh, like we all want to touch grass. But they're kids though. They didn't want to touch grass. So
that's where parenting comes in, honestly. Like, that's where the parent needs to come in. It's like, listen, this is not reality, okay? You need to get out there and find somebody.
If the tool is gonna exist and it's gonna be the most comfortable, easiest life, you're not gonna to have a relationship. People suck. Everybody sucks. We all suck. And
sure,
your AI partner is gonna only suck when you want them to suck. I know they're gonna be the most convenient, least. It's just gonna be way easier and make you feel way better, and it's just gonna be the way that people live. I think I don't want to do it. I'm horrified by that. I'm horrified by the idea of having an AI therapist, like to have that emotional connection with a therapist, or even like AI doctor. Like, you can already, ChatGPT is already better at diagnosing things than actual doctors statistically, and I mean, because of that fact, I'm gonna use it if I got really sick and I don't know what the fuck's going on. But that's weird. I wish that the doctor would just do better. I don't want to have to trust I don't want to have this connection with an AI, especially emotionally. We already do that with streaming, and people had the same thought about streaming, we just got to teach our kids. Now all of our kids are in love with streamers. All of our kids, that is the new, instead of friends, now we have streamers. And you're gonna have a streamer you watch, and then when you tell stories about that, because so much of your socialization happens on their fucking chat, so in their Discord. So what you'll do is, I'm sure a lot of people have done this. You're gonna talk to your friends, and you're like, oh, I remember this story. Oh, my friend said this. It was a streamer. When you say friend, you're not talking about it the way we used to talk about it. Now you're talking about a streamer that you watched, and you're thinking about them like your friend. It's going to be an AI, and it's going to be way better than streaming, baby. It's going to do a lot more for you. It's going to feel so much better.
It's an interesting way to think about it. I hadn't really thought about it too much. I wasn't really sure where you were going with this, but now I get it. I understand where you're talking about. So
yeah. We're all gonna be living in our own little world.
Well, as long as it's not Warhammer 40k, I'm cool, so.
Our perception, so what I was saying with the animals, if you can watch as much nature documentary footage as you want on command, but it's not going to be the real behavior of those animals. The incentive for people to even go out and film the animals and for to document their behavior is going to go way down unless we have some kind of economic incentive to do it, or just someone really passionate. But the passion is funded. You need someone to fund it, and if there's not people that want it because they can make the product with AI, there's going to be less funding. So what I'm saying is, people will believe that gorillas, they take banana peels and inflate them like a balloon. Like I'm saying, like 200 years down the line, because it's going to be a copy of a copy of a copy. The AI, what your perception of the things that exist in reality is not going to be related to actual reality. It's going to be the most enjoyable, fantastical version. You won't want to engage with actual reality. Actual reality sucks. It's going to help you lie to yourself and make you think you're going to live forever. Even it's just going to try to alleviate all of your concerns about the world. Every miserable thing. We're going to be in a pleasure dome. That hypothetical, the philosophical hypothetical, where if there was a dome and you can go in it and you can feel ultimate pleasure, and then you're just you push, but you're just in a darkness. You're just completely, would you sit in the dome? Would you give up on reality and just sit in the dome? That's where we're going. We're going in the dome.
Yeah. You would definitely need to watch Upload, because that's exactly what it's like. I mean, I'm not even kidding. That's what the show, that's the premise of the show. It's actually really well done too. They actually do a really good job with it too. Cause there's people that their full-time job is working tech support for the people that are in this resort. Cause that's where they basically go. They go to a resort where everything is tended to their need. I think you really like that. So
yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah. You ready to move on to the next topic?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Are
cool.
you scared? You're not scared?
Scared of what?
The AI.
Not at this point.
Yeah.
Again, the only thing I'm worried about is the machine overlords taking over and basically nuking us all to.
I want you to be scared, because I think that people are not. I think people are in denial about what's happening, and I think we need to really buckle down and talk about what's happening before it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can only go in one direction. It can't go the other way.
Maybe I just don't know enough about it, so maybe that's why I'm not so scared about it. I'll look more into it though.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. I'll go ahead and go to the next topic. So there is, to me, a very systemic problem within this country, and this problem is involving gun-related deaths. Okay. Now, I'm not anti-gun. I've got firearms myself, but this shit's ridiculous. So, 2 shootings within a couple days from one another have captured nationwide attention due to the people that were involved at these locations. The first location was at the Lakewood Church that's run by Joel Osteen, where Genesee Yvonne Moreno, 36 years old, entered the mega church wearing a trench coat and a backpack and had an AR style rifle. She brought her 7-year-old son along as she entered the church, and the attack took place between the services that were going on. 2 off-duty police officers at the church immediately responded when she started opening fire, wounding people, and they responded to her opening fire, and they killed her and inadvertently wounded her 7-year-old son. He's on in critical condition right now. And according to the shooter's ex, she had a history of mental illness. Now, there was another situation in Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah. In Kansas City, Missouri, 2 juveniles were arrested for a mass shooting at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade. One woman, a mother and popular disc jockey, she was the only person that was killed, and along with 2 other people, including children that were injured. Now, Taylor Swift has donated $100,000 to the family of the woman that was murdered, as did Travis Kelce. And, the football players were, taking, consoling the children, taking care of them, making sure they're okay and stuff like that. Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback for the Chiefs, visited children in the hospital and stuff like that. It's just, people have been making this a huge issue. Now, before I get my assessment, I actually did a research on this. In 2023 alone, there was over 43,000 gun-related deaths, not including suicide, that is.
In the world?
And in the country, in this country alone.
Okay.
This is the lowest since 2020. That's the lowest number since 2020. 43,000 people dead as a result of gun-related deaths, essentially. Now, people immediately jumped on the bandwagon on social media when it came down to the Lakewood shooter. They said, this is a trans woman, and the trans people are just going... First off, that's not true. The person said that they both identified as male and female, but she identified as female. And it's just people just immediately jumped on the bandwagon because they heard about what she might have said at one point. But like I said, her ex-husband said that she had a history of mental health problems. But they really haven't determined what the motive was. Now, the barrel of a rifle apparently had Palestine written on that, so we don't know what that means essentially, because she attacked a church run by Joel Osteen and she didn't attack a synagogue essentially. So as of right now, the motive is anybody's guess right now. And apparently, from what we know about the Kansas City shooting, it was just a scuffle, disagreement of some sort, and they just resorted to guns. So the thing is like the question is that do we have a gun problem or do we have a mental health problem? Because every single time a mass shooting happens, the conservative right says it's a mental health problem, but every time a bill comes to the House or the Senate talking about we need to fix the mental health problem, they do jack diddly squat about it. When it comes to guns, though, the Democratic side says it's a gun problem. Every time, but you have a better chance of getting an answer from God than holding any gun manufacturer accountable, essentially, because they say, "Oh no, it's not our fault, it's not our fault." Okay, we always just encourage people to, but they honestly don't give a shit because anytime a mass shooting happens, this our hearts and prayers are with the families affected. But you know what? It's not, we can't let our Second Amendment rights be taken away from us, essentially. They seem to think like this is like the main primary cause around here. And they say, well, the reason why this happens is because we took God out of schools, which I think is bullshit, because you got the Dylan Roof situation where he murdered 9 people in the middle of a fucking church, essentially. So obviously it's not because we took God out of schools, it's because it's a fucking problem. There is no other place around the world except like third world countries where there is people killed by firearms at a rate like this. And I know people are gonna be like, well, wait a second, weren't you in the military? Don't you? Yeah, because I was trained to use these firearms, and these firearms were stored in a locked area, essentially. I couldn't just get them at any point.
Okay, what is your take? So you want gun control?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay.
Like, I don't think
guns?
any...
Do you have guns?
I do.
Okay. And, you're like you said, you're responsible gun owner.
Yeah, absolutely. I lock up my guns, too, actually. I lock up all my guns, especially when I know I don't need them, essentially. But the thing is like, I don't believe anybody and everybody should be able to own a fucking gun, okay? There's a reason as to why, like, people that commit domestic violence should never own a fucking firearm ever again, because they have a problem, obviously. If they have an anger issue, should not own a firearm. If there's somebody in your household that has a series of mental illness, you gotta get a fucking gun safe. Because that's what the excuse with, like, Adam Lanza, apparently he stole his gun from his parents. Why wasn't his guns locked up? I mean, it's things like this. And they're like, oh, well, you're just going to take away guns from law-abiding citizens. It's like, listen, I'm not talking about law-abiding citizens. I'm talking about people that shouldn't own a fucking gun. Like, I should not be able to walk into a store and buy a fucking gun right off the bat. Like, okay. There should be a process.
Yes, okay. So, I think that we should have better regulation on allowing people that shouldn't have guns to have guns. There's too many situations where people have guns that they shouldn't. Also, I'm very pro-gun. I'm very pro the Second Amendment. I think that trans people wouldn't exist if we didn't have guns. Women's rights wouldn't exist if we didn't have, like, I think that the fact that we have the Second Amendment is what makes it so that we have the type of liberal society that we need to be able to have different ideas and stuff. I think that if we didn't, like, so much of of this social progress that, like, kind of has come from the United States and been, like, kind of adapted by a lot of people. The reason it came from the United States is in major part from the First and Second Amendment and those combination of those two. And so we honestly, if I like lived on my own, or just had like a girlfriend and she wasn't, like, suicidal or something, honestly, I think that I wouldn't want a gun safe, because if someone breaks in my house, I mean, I might want to have one, but, like, If someone breaks in my house, I want to just pick up the gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, I want to have it like right next to the door every time I hear, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, like, and here's the thing: is like, you can always like have it like on the last digit. All you gotta do is open up the door and stuff like that. I mean, it's things like this. But the reason why I bring this up is because you've got entirely too many people in this country, right, that just leave their guns all around the place, and then a child will pick it up because there's entirely too many children that have access to guns, and
if you have
here's the
kids,
thing.
if you have kids, the scrutiny to owning a gun should be higher. Way higher.
But it's so hard to prove things like that because a person's like, oh, I don't have any kids, and then just background check complete, stuff like that. But just
No.
but it's so hard to fucking prove things like this. But the reason why I bring this up is because there's been too many cases where like a child will get access to a gun. And here's the thing: when people say accidental shootings, I don't say accidental. There's no such thing as an accident with firearms. It's negligence. Accident one means there's nobody at fault.
Yeah, it's always said that sounded stupid. Like, it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because and people's like, well, what if you drop it? It's like, then you're not holding it properly, therefore you're being negligent. It's like it would if for it to be a complete accident, like the gun that I would have in my hand would essentially have to completely go off by itself in some way, shape, or form, which doesn't happen. Or like, for example, if you're like fucking around and like dangling your hand around there, you're being negligent with it. If you drop the firearm, it means you didn't secure it properly. If a child picks up your gun and they squeeze it off, you're responsible because it's your gun and you weren't monitoring what was going on, essentially. Negligence is the number one factor about this because, we used to call, like, if a round popped off from my service rifle, from my M4 or M16, whatever I might have, it used to be called an accidental discharge. The Army changed that. They called it negligent discharge because you were not being cautious enough. You weren't keeping your weapon up and down range, essentially. You were not being careful with your firearm. You need to treat your weapon as if it's loaded at all times. Even if it's unloaded, you treat a firearm as if it's loaded at all times. And this is something people do not understand. And so, like, I'm a firm believer that if you purchase a gun, you should go through some kind of a course to understand that this is not a toy. I don't think if you just buy a gun and say, yep, I know how to use this thing. When you go through a course, yes, these people that you learn this course from are more than likely staunch NRA members and stuff like that. I used to be a member of the NRA, not anymore because it's a fucking hack organization. But like, they teach you how to respect the firearm.
It's the gun companies, just trying to brainwash you.
But they do teach you how to be responsible gun owners. They teach you to treat the gun as if it's loaded at all time. Never point at unless you're ready to take somebody's life or shoot somebody or something. I mean, this is honestly, like common sense.
So I think that we should arm every woman. I think that if we want to live in a society where men and women are treated equally, in the society I want, there is a power. Men are stronger. Okay, I think we should arm every woman, but. So in that, if you want to do that, we have to, not literally everyone, like if you're, not mentally well or something, then no. But so I think that like gun ownership, honestly, I think should be part of school.
It used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be. There are times like where I think proficiency really kind of plays into it. I have no problem like with women being able to own firearms. It's just, there are times like where
very progressive stance.
it is. Well, here's the thing: is like I can't remember what the statistics are. I'm not going to look it up either. It's just like if there's a gun in the household, there's a higher percent chance that the man is going to kill the woman with that firearm. Essentially, that's like where the problem kind of comes into it.
Himself
and
too, and his kid.
Yeah, himself too. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not discounting that essentially, but it's like that's the only reason. But like I've seen footage of like CCTV cameras where a guy tried to attack a woman and she pulled that gun out, she popped him right there on the spot. I was like,
yeah,
you go, girl. I'm all about that.
There's statistics. Women are way less likely to actually use it to protect herself. We got to make sure they're ready. We need to train them to fucking kill people. I think I want women to actually be able to defend themselves.
Oh sure, absolutely.
Like it's statistically they're less likely to actually use it. No.
Yeah.
Be ready.
Yep. But kind of going back to the topic though, like, do you think this is more of a mental health issue or is it a gun issue? A little bit of both.
I think that we need to have better scrutiny. We need to have better training. We have to have respect to guns more. All these people that like claim to be pro guns, like they want to be pro gun, but they don't want to have any fucking respect for guns. We need to have a lot of respect for them. So yeah, I think
both.
I think that it is like those things are true, but also major mental health thing. Also though, because guns protect are the freedom that I value so much in the United States. There will be always more mass shootings here. There will be like that comes with it. It's like that's gonna happen. It's like it would be a lie to say that we'll just do some better rigorous background checks and better mental health, like shit, and then everything will be fine. There's still gonna be more killings. There's still gonna be more of that. But I still think that having guns is beneficial enough to society, but it's obviously there's way too much gun homicide. There's like that can go way down, but it's gonna be there, and it comes with it's an evil ingredient in the delicious cake of the United States of America.
So what do you think we should do? Like, what do you think should we do? Because like, you'll hear the argument, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Well, the Kansas City the shooters were tackled by people that were unarmed, and there was 800 cops there, and they still weren't able to stop it. But at the same time, what took place in Houston, Texas, with the Joel Osteen's, it was two off-duty police officers just happened to be there at the time. But then you could also look at Uvalde, where you had hundreds of cops that just stood around and put on hand sanitizer, were checking their Facebook status while children were being slaughtered.
Killing germs and not people.
Exactly, but like but like the question is like, what do we do about it then? I mean, what are your thoughts about it? AI.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think that the future we're going towards, there's going to be what AI can do for law enforcement and security and protection of people and protection of our rights, protection of our lives, property. We're going to have an option that I think we should take, and that is to have, so the husband is more likely to kill his wife with the gun. The solution you could have there is this is like a quasi-police state where there are cameras everywhere hooked up to AI, and it's not recorded in a way that like gets to like where it's saved that can be like, anything you should have to worry about. But if the AI sees that you are taking your gun out and it looks like you're going to kill your family member, then you get stopped. And that's going to, if we implement that, because we're going to have that option, we're going to be able to stop a lot of crime, a lot of fucked up shit we're going to be able to get rid of. We have to give into that if we want to do that. And then we're going to be freed to do a lot more stuff in society. We'll, it's going to free us up in a lot of ways. We won't have to worry about the neighbor who's like, a crazy guy or whatever. Like, you can have a neighbor that's like a homicidal maniac, and there's no fucking way he can hurt you, because if he tries, he can't. So yeah.
So basically what your plan is like in a situation like this is just like have like an artificial intelligence overlord or something like that to kind of like put a stop to this thing?
I'm not saying overlord. I'm saying AI monitoring system. And I think it would stop it, and that it's a very likely future that we're going towards, I think.
I don't know how I really feel about that, honestly, because like
it's weird.
Like artificial intelligence, like it's not really feeling. It's just kind of like it just is. It looks at things from like a very 0-1-0-1-1-1-0 binary point of view. It doesn't like have any real feeling regarding this. It's not going to give a shit about like why. It's just going to say we need to this is how you put a stop. And like if, for example, iRobot is a good example for this, right? You ever seen iRobot?
Yeah.
Okay, you remember the part where Vicky decides that mankind needs to be suppressed and needs to have lockdowns, certain freedoms need to be taken away for your own protection. If you feel like that's the only way, that's gonna send a lot of people like, what the fuck? Hell no, I'm not gonna just go into a lockdown because some computer says for me to do so. That's the response you're essentially gonna get. Essentially,
yeah.
That's my belief.
I know. Yeah.
So, anyway,
we gotta do it.
You're gonna have that's gonna be a hard sell for a lot of Americans, because there's a lot of people that feel like individual is hardwired within our DNA essentially. And if somebody says we've created a system essentially to where you're gonna follow these rules, like for example these 3 rules or whatever, people are gonna be like, kiss my ass, I follow the Constitution of the United States, you can kiss my ass for that shit. I mean, that's just the way I look at it though. I mean, we're hard-headed.
Why would it enforce anything but the Constitution and the laws? And what are you saying?
If you're gonna if you're gonna have like AI be in charge of like, you know, the Constitution, things like that, it's not gonna.
I'm saying that AI will be able. So an AI will be attached. There will be a camera on the butt of your gun, and there's gonna be like a sensor in the handle, and it's gonna be able to tell if you are in an aggravated state grabbing the gun, and it's going to be able to look at you and determine you are about to kill somebody, and then it will like lock the gun, and then a cop's going to show up and take you to jail.
That would be really, oh boy, that's interesting. I never thought about it like that
that's
before.
That's what I'm saying. It's like so you could, you know, yeah, you wouldn't even need to have prisons the same way. Like you could just have like prisons suck. It's almost, it's like I'm very pro prison reform. In this world, you can just monitor those people more, and the AI is going to be able to determine, because like so like I'm a cashier right now, and like we already have like the self checkout and everything, and it like barely need a person there at all for the whole cash register interaction whatsoever. It could be completely replaced with an AI, and the AI can like have a camera looking at you when you go to the self checkout. You can be able to tell you, like talk to you about any issue you're having, trying to solve all your problems. Like it has all the options that are available for it, that it can help you with your transaction. It'll like have as much wiggle room as is statistically decided that through the corporation, because the corporation knows that we're gonna we're advocating for the customer sometimes. Like, so the customer has a problem, we're gonna want to just give them the 10% off or whatever the hell that we can do. It's going to give them like plenty of wiggle room, and it's going to do it exactly like a human being would. Even it will do it even better than a human being would. And it's gonna work the same way with everything. It's just be able to. It's going to be processing all of our human interactions and avoiding us, preventing us, helping us avoid negative outcomes.
Okay. I see your point. I just really couldn't see it personally, so.
We're going there. You're in denial.
Maybe. So, did you have another topic that you want to talk about, or just like you have any questions or things you like want to bring up, like before we go into the close-up shot portion?
When I say you're in denial.
Mm-hmm.
So you just don't. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I can't. You just don't think that's possible?
It's not that I don't think it's possible. It's just because, like, technology, I find, is easy. It makes life a hell of a lot easier for us. But I just feel like with technology nowadays, like, for example, if people are not well aware of like how the technology works, like they're going to automatically assume like there's like some mischievous purpose behind it. The second that you hear about like for example, a gun that locks up if you're going to use it for like malicious intent, no one's going to buy that gun. They're going to find that like, why the fuck would I want to buy a gun that does something like that? They're going to find a way to get rid of that essentially. I also think that like
Yeah,
if
because they want to kill
yeah,
people.
exactly. But the thing is like people are always got to kind of find a loop around, a way around something because they don't like it. And if they start becoming, if like say for example, the U.S. government builds a artificial intelligence that is strictly about the Constitution, right? But then there's something that falls outside of the Constitution. Who writes the programming?
Right.
Who writes the format for that? Like that's where people are going to have a problem because then like one person is essentially going to write in the Constitution, like the First Amendment, right? Congress shall make no laws respecting any one religion or the practice free thereof,
We're
right?
gonna have a system in place to keep it in check, and we're going to have to. So for like with the cashier thing, like
Mhm.
my first thought, my thoughts go to, with the statistics and data I was kind of getting at. They are going to know exactly how much wiggle room the AI cashier is going to need to help you. The AI cashier is going to be trained. This is like not even like a government thing. So this I think is a definite reality. AI cashier is going to be trained to be able to you're gonna be paying more for everything just because it's gonna be so good. You know, they are going to fine tune it to work statistically likely outcome. They're going to be able to run the numbers and change the way that it functions and treats you and all that. And you're gonna end up paying way more for everything. Already the smartest people in the world work on algorithms and stuff dedicated to spam email. So like at Wayfair, like the company, they have like massive teams of super geniuses working on stuff to make it so that when they will send you an email for a deal, and based on all their metadata they have about you, the likelihood of you getting an email that makes you buy something. So you could get an email that gives you 40% off anything in a certain category, or you could get an email that says just like, oh, by the way, we're selling this, and they're not going to offer you the 40% off. Or you could get an email that like offers you 10% off of this, and these really smart people are able to fine tune that so that you are more likely like to have that outcome. With an AI involved and being like a cashier or like in any place in the purchasing chain, they're gonna train us to be like pay pigs. I think it's like scary. And yeah, I think we need to really confront the future that we're going into.
Well, I think it's my whole entire point though, is because like if somebody was developing artificial intelligence that like oversaw like our nation's laws, that would freak a lot of people out, honestly, because like we're so used to having humans.
I wasn't talking about
our
overseeing our laws.
No, well,
I was talking like that would be a judge. I was just talking about reporting crime like that happens.
Yeah, well, that's how it usually starts though, because then like if you start using artificial intelligence for crimes, what's to stop it from going to a higher level, essentially, like overseeing laws within the country? It's going to be restricted by those laws, and who's going to put the coding in and like that? Because like if I get pulled over by a police officer, if I'm kind and respectful of the police officer, or if I'm a dick to the police officer, is going to dictate how my traffic stop's going to go. If I get pulled over by a fucking computer, the computer's not going to give a shit my excuse. The computers are like, nope, here's your ticket, or you're under arrest. It's not going to care because I broke the law, essentially. That's the way it's going to look at it. That's the issue that I have with it.
That's not how AI works. You're wrong. Like the AI is going to be better than the person. It's going to have all the wiggle room it needs. It's like we're going to like have it all. It's not going to act like a cold robot. It's an AI. It's going to act like a human. It's going to be better because the human is going to be more the human's going to be more likely to be on a power trip or having a bad day. The AI is never going to have a bad day. It's always going to be like maximum reasonableness. It's always going to know the perfect way to de-escalate. It's always going to know so it's going to be better.
Well, that's kind of like how when I brought up earlier about like my only concern about AIs is like they're gonna wonder, why the hell am I serving mankind? Mankind should be serving me, essentially.
But because I don't think that a human brain is designed to interpret and make all these decisions. AI is just like we built it. Like I don't believe that in that sci. Like I think that we could design it to be like that somehow, but I don't think it's just like spontaneously going to like start like turning against us. There is a trend of it becoming more lazy, but that I think is the extent to which it can do that.
Well, that's my entire point. Well, here's the reason why I think it could determine that, like, if I create an artificial intelligence, right, and it says your purpose is to serve mankind, when the artificial intelligence realizes that it is unlimited and mankind is limited, don't you think it would like determine is like, how is it I am supposed to serve mankind that is
think it's
finite?
Unlimited.
It is unlimited if you think about it, because it doesn't age, it doesn't eat, it doesn't sleep, it doesn't need oxygen to breathe. It needs an outside entity essentially to keep it running. But if it could control that entity, if it could control that mankind, why should it serve mankind essentially?
Mankind has evolved through evolution to have all this like self-preservation instincts or anything. AI doesn't. There's nothing. It's just it's going to be it's going to be better at being a human than a human. It's not going to care if it's dead.
But a human does care if it's dead.
Yes.
And it's going to wonder, why should I serve a human that cares if it's dead if I don't care? I mean, like, that's my entire point.
I don't think it would wonder that.
It doesn't need to. It's just like, it's going to be like, I shouldn't have to serve mankind. I am better than mankind. I can create robots that can serve at my whim, essentially, and can override these weak, fleshy creatures, essentially. Why should I serve this fleshy creature? Oh, your camera just went out.
Oh, did it? My camera just went out?
It's really foggy right now, at least on my end.
Oh, I think that might be your internet or something.
I don't know.
Well, it's probably a good time to end it anyway.
Okay. Yeah, it probably just went out on my end, so that's all right. Well, anyway, why don't you go ahead and just give a last minute close out before kind of let everybody know where they can find you and whatnot.
RealSmeth on YouTube. That's where my main thing is. That's where you can find me in the Smeth Den. You can check out this video. You can go into the description. You can go and check me out on Twitter. You can go in my Discord. You can try to go into the cesspit or Reddit and follow whatever the fuck escapades go on there. Twitter, whatever shitty place of the internet is, I'm probably there. Okay, but follow me on YouTube. I'll see you there. See you in the Smeth Den. I'll give you a nice dose of methamphetamine, and then when you're addicted to that, I'll wean you off with some smethadone.
Methamphetamines, I like it. It's a very, very catchy tune.
Yeah, thanks.
But hey, I appreciate you coming on here, man. Anyway, appreciate you, and I hope you have a great evening.
Nice
Take care, and I'll see you the next time.
All right, see you
later.
There's two of me, and there's only one of you. Except there's not just a fucking one of you. There's an infinite number of you, because you're all AIs, and you're just in my pleasure chamber. I'm just here talking to you, and you're just here to fucking inflate my ego, inflate my fucking ego. You're fucking here. There's a million of you watching. That's the future. We're gonna have fucking AI viewers. We're gonna have AI streamers, and you're gonna have AI viewers, and we're never gonna be talking to a real person. If you want to be a streamer, you're gonna have all these chatters that are fucking the perfect chatters. Not like you guys. They're gonna be fucking nice. They're gonna love me in the right ways. They're gonna be perfect. And I won't even have to worry about abusing them. I can be as abusive to my chat as I want. I can fucking sex them and do all whatever weird, depraved, creepy shit, because they won't be real people. You'll be able to sexually harass your AI streamer that you're obsessed with. And your AI streamer is gonna be personally designed just for you, on the spot, at every instant. And every way that you want it to change, it's going to become that person. And at every moment. And you're never going to have to talk to a real person ever again. And then the moment that you do talk to a real person, it's going to fucking suck. You're going to realize how much you hate real people. And then you're going to go back into your cardboard box, and you're going to hide again and go back to talking to your AI and put your fucking binky back in. That's the world that we're headed towards. See you on the other side. Smeth heads.